Yo, what's going on, and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. And today, when I was thinking of what I wanted to make a video on, I decided that I wanted to make a video on how to spend your resin, like what order. But then I realized that there's something that you kind of need before you actually are understanding how to spend your resin, and that is understanding how your weapons and your artifacts interact with your stats so you can prioritize the correct things in your build. Now, if we're looking at my Klee here, I have taken off all of her artifacts. Now, unfortunately, you can't actually remove weapons. You can only switch them out for something else. So I gave her the only 1-star book that I had. It gives 23 base attack. So we look at her stats, and you can see there's no pluses over here. Now there's two kinds of stats. There's base stats and then there's bonus stats. So what's gonna be really important is getting your base stats as high as possible. Now you can see here our attack is 298 and we have this book that gives us 23 attack. So our base attack for Klee is 275 or 274, somewhere in between there. It's a rounded number, I believe, because when I equip different weapons, I get like a number that's either 1 or higher or 1 lower than what I would expect. So it must be a rounded number. But you can see when I look at these stats, it's all just added in here. So when I go to my real weapon, we are going to see that this gives 401 base attack plus a 50.3% attack as well. So we'll go ahead and equip that and see what changes that makes to our character. So now when we're looking, we have a bonus, but our base attack number is different. So you can see here that base attack is calculated by the attack number that it says on the weapon plus your character's base attack number, right? So we decided that Klee's base attack was either 274 or 275, and the weapon gave us 401 base attack. So if we add 274 to 401, we get 675 as our base attack. Now, if we look at what else the weapon gives, it gives 50% extra attack here. So when we look at this, 339 is about 50% of 675. With the 0.3%, it's pretty much right there on the dot. So you can see that's being added in as a bonus stat. So what's important here is that all of your percentages that you're getting on any of your stats are always going to be based on your base attack, and they're going to go into your bonus. So the percentages aren't going to stack off of each other. They are just going to be multiplied by your base attack and then added in. So when we look at our artifacts, you might be wondering, what does the feather give? Because it just says that it gives attack. So we're going to go ahead and grab Klee's feather. It gives 232 attack and a little bit of percent attack as well. So it'll be slightly more than 232 that we're gaining here. And if we look at her stats, we can see the base attack number did not change. The feather is not base attack. The only thing that gives you base attack is the weapon and your character. And then with the feather, we added in a little bit of percent plus 232. So we ended up adding like 260 more attack onto that by just getting our feather. Now that we understand the base attack, let's look at some other stats like the HP. Similarly, we're adding 1,377 HP. We could go check what our HP is right now. It's 9,076. We have no bonus to it. And so when we equip this flower, I know it's not a great flower, but it's the one I'm using at the moment. We'll equip that. It should give us 1,377 extra HP. And it does over here, but it doesn't add to the base HP. Again, it counts as a bonus stat. So what other stats do we have to look at? Now, Klee is a very powerful fire character, so we like to build fire damage on her. And I have a fire damage piece of gear, but first we need to look at what her base stats are by herself. Now, Klee, you can see her base stats right here, which includes the weapon base stats, Plus we can see that her secret stat is pyro damage bonus, and this is 21.6% pyro damage bonus, which is quite a bit. So let's see how an artifact that also gives pyro damage bonus interacts with this. So we can see here the cup that I have for Klee, it's not fully leveled, but it currently gives 38.7% pyro bonus damage, which is quite a lot. And earlier we saw that she already had 21.6. So if we add these two together, we'd be expecting 60 point something percent as our total, or they might be multiplied by each other. Let's find out what actually happens to them. And when we go down to our pyro bonus damage, we see that it's 60.3%. So we know that the two numbers are just added together. So now when we look at our attacks, and our attack stat is at about 1407, we then, because all of Catalyst users' attacks are automatically the element that they use, so we can take that attack of 1407 and multiply it by 1.6 to get how much damage or how much attack is being applied to our normal attacks. Now, obviously your talents, your normal attack is a talent, so it does a certain percentage of your attack. So here we can see that currently at level 6, the first hit of my combo is doing 101% of my attack. So it's pretty much exactly what my attack value is. So we know that our auto attack is dealing essentially exactly, our first hit of our auto attack is dealing essentially exactly this number times 1.6 because of our pyro bonus damage. So as we look at the rest of our artifacts, we have another one that adds in attack, and this is going to give us 46.6% attack. So we'll go ahead and equip that, see what it does to our attack stat. And you can see up here, we're still at 675 as our base attack. That hasn't changed, but our bonus attack keeps going up. And we'll go ahead and equip our last piece of gear just to make sure that my Klee is back to normal, which is this one. And we can see here that we actually have crit that's going to be added. So before we put that one on, why don't we look at what crit does. Currently have 18.5% crit rate, and the bonus that we're getting from having 2 Berserker pieces is going to be 12% extra crit rate. So we'd be expecting 30.5%. No crit rate up here. So let's see if that turns out what we expect. And yes, it's exactly 30.5% crit rate. Our crit damage is down here. It works the same as crit rate. You're just adding up all the numbers. You can see now that our attack is at 1957. And our base attack hasn't changed since we put on the weapon. So I think this is going to be really important in knowing how to gear your character and what to prioritize. So we'll talk about that next time, but just remember that every single piece of gear that you have that says a percent on it, or even your feathers that, that's not where your feathers are, even the feather that gives a flat attack, that's all going to bonus attack. The only thing that is base attack is your character's base and then your weapon. And so you want to make sure that your base stats are as high as possible, because then when you add in all of your percents, they're going to be higher, right? The higher you get your base stats, the better your percents are. So if I was able to just level up my weapon right now, my attack would just go up by more than what my weapon is increasing by, because all of my percents in my artifacts, like this massive artifact of 46%, is all multiplying by a bigger number, right? So the bonus that it's giving me is bigger. So either way, that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully we understand how stats work, and tomorrow we will look at what order to prioritize your upgrades by using your resin, and hopefully that'll be useful to everyone. But either way, hopefully you enjoyed this one, and I will see you next time.